Right, so in today's video, I'm going to be showing you two different methods that you can use to get rid of weeds in your lawn for good. But before we get into that, there's loads of stuff on this YouTube channel, such as how to manage and maintain a fairly decent lawn, how to do certain things for the first time, like how to lay a patio, how to build a retaining wall, and more so how to just completely renovate your own garden. So if you haven't already, consider subscribing and checking out those videos once you've watched this one. But yeah, less waffling about that. Let's get straight into how we can get rid of lawn weeds. Now, the first method is going down the manual route, and that's using something like this, which is a manual weed puller. Now, this is the Fiskars Exact, but you can get loads of different ones which do, a fairly similar thing. You can see right on the end here, we've got these 4 teeth, prongs you call them, and you basically put them right in over the top of a weed. You put your foot on the pedal, you pull back, and what it'll do is it'll grip tight hold of that weed, the root included, and when you pull back, you're going to remove pretty much, ideally anyway, the entire weed. What's great about using something like this is that you can get out today and pretty much remove nearly every single weed in your lawn, so you're going to get instant results from doing it. However, it does come with its disadvantages as well. I find that sometimes when you use a tool like this, you don't always get the entire root of the plant. If you think about something like a dandelion, it's got quite a big, monster taproot, and more often than not when you're using this, you will pull that entire taproot out and you're not going to get that weed again. However, if you leave some of that root behind, and you'll see when you pull out a taproot, if it's got kind of like a shear in it where it looks a little bit lighter at the bottom where it's snapped, then rest assured that that weed is going to come back with a vengeance. So even though you're going to get all the weeds out today with a tool like this, it may not be the best solution for a long-term fix, and also struggles a little bit with weeds such as clover, which tends to spread around your garden rather than just being one kind of solitary plant with a singular taproot. When you use a weed puller like this, sometimes you can pull quite a bit of the soil out and leave a little bit of a patch in your lawn, and what you can do to combat that, to fill that space back in, is just put a little bit of soil in, put a little bit of grass seed over the top, sprinkle a little bit more soil over the top of it, just to make sure you've got nice seed to soil contact, and it'll help the seeds to retain a bit of moisture whilst they germinate. And that way, by adding more grasses in, you're increasing the competition in your lawn. Think of any lawn as like an arena for competition with plants. You want your grass plants to be more dominant, so the more grasses that you have, the less likely it is for any weeds to take hold. However, if you've got a creeping variety of grass like bent grass or fescue, then the likelihood is that you're not going to need to overseed. All you're going to need to do is continue to feed your lawn and continue to cut your lawn, because that way those grasses are going to creep and fill in naturally over time. If you're not sure whether you've got a creeping grass like bent and fescue or a non-creeping grass like ryegrass, then just go with seed regardless. Overseeding those spaces is the surefire way of making sure that those weeds don't come back, and you'll always increase competition that way. The second method you can use to get rid of the lawn weeds is to go down the chemical route, and there's 2 different choices. You've got Weedol and you've got Roundup. Let's start off with Weedol. If you're going to buy this, make sure you buy the one that says kills weeds, not lawns, because that way it's going to kill off those weeds that you want to get rid of, but it's not going to do any lasting damage to the grass that's around it. And we have 2 different types of Weedol. We have Weedol in the bottle with a little spray fella on, and we have Weedol concentrate. If your lawn is completely riddled with weeds, then this one is definitely the one to go for, because you can mix it up into a knapsack sprayer and then you can apply it to the entire lawn, and what it'll do is it'll kill those weeds off that you don't want, but it's not going to harm the grass that you currently have. And what you'll notice is that within around about 1 to 2 weeks, your weeds are going to kind of go a bit of a purplish colour, and that's a clear indicator that the Weedol is doing its thing and it's killing off any of those weeds. However, some of them can be a little bit more stubborn, and that's where this fella comes into play. Now, ideally, this is what you're going to want to use if you only have a few weeds knocking about. So let's say it's not completely riddled. You might have 10, you might have 20. Then you can use this just to spot treat those weeds. What I like about using the spray bottle is that you don't need to apply this chemical over every part of your lawn. Although it doesn't kill your lawn, it's not necessarily the best thing for your soil. So you don't want to be applying this time and time again. But what it will do is it'll help to target just those specific weeds. And the same as what went with this, they'll turn purple, eventually they'll die. It might take a little bit more time for those weeds to kind of die off, to shrivel up, to decompose slowly over time. So it's not a quick fix overnight, and you're not going to get immediate results today, but it is going to give you long-term benefits. And you won't really need to apply something like this for, let's say, another 12 months or so. If you want to get more intense and more deadly on your weeds, ensuring that they are never, ever going to come back, then Roundup is definitely the one to go with. The main ingredient in Roundup is glyphosate. The way glyphosate works is it destroys every single part of the plant. It'll destroy the leaves, the stem, the root system. However, what this will also do is it will kill off your grasses. So you've got to be really careful when applying this to spot treat weeds. You do not want to be putting this in your knapsack and spraying it across everything unless you're planning on killing your entire lawn off, which I do have videos of that on my channel from doing full lawn renovations. So if you do want to check those out, links might be in the description below, but if not, just go into my channel, do a quick search. You'll find how I've renovated all the lawns in my garden. The best way to apply this onto your weeds is to do a small mixture, a 5-to-1 ratio, 5 parts water, 1 part Roundup, and use just a really small paintbrush to paint it onto the leaves of any of the weeds that you've got. Even use a cotton swab, that'll do the same job too. Just make sure that you get absolutely none of this on the grasses or any of the plants that you want to keep, because if you touch just the tiniest bit on some of your grass blades, it's going to completely kill those grass plants. And again, similar to weed out, it's going to take around about 2 weeks for it to really take effect. You'll see that the plants will start to turn a yellow or an orange colour, and that's when you know that the Roundup is out there doing its thing. And at that point, what you can do is just pluck those yellow leaves off, lash them in the wheelie bin, and you won't see where that weed was then, because the grasses will be covering the space around it. What you don't need to do is remove the entire root system of that plant, because of the way Roundup works, because it destroys the stem, the root system, everything. Once the leaves are yellow, the Roundup is already in full destruction mode, so those roots will eventually completely die off and they'll decompose in the soil, and any goodness that they have, any nutrients, will be leached back into the soil, will feed your existing plants. Don't worry, the glyphosate isn't able to get into the soil and to kill the rest of the plants. It has to be absorbed by the leaf, hence why you kind of paint it onto there with a paintbrush or a cotton swab. And after about 2 weeks, the glyphosate degrades into your soil, so you're not going to be having lasting impacts. But like with any chemicals you apply to your lawn, too much of these products is always going to do more harm than good. Just conscious of Fred in the background there, just lurking about being a menace. Oh, he's having a wee. Both of these are great to apply at this time of year, because for them to work, the plants have to be actively growing. And at time of recording, it is kind of early on in August, so all the weeds in your lawn are going to be in full swing, so these are going to activate really, really quickly. And there we have it. That's basically the best ways to actually get rid of weeds in your lawn. Whether you go the chemical route, whether you go the manual route, just do what works best for you, and you're going to get really decent results. So thanks for watching today's video. Hopefully it's been useful. This is the time of year now where we do sometimes have weeds in our lawns, and it's a great way just to keep on top of them. And if you want to check out any more lawn tip videos, then head over to my channel to see so. Like I said at the start, I've got a full garden renovation too. And finally, thanks for watching.